weekend down at in LA. Took LA by storm there for about 2 days. Of course, you heard me talk about the logistics of being able to compete at 3 meets, and after the fact, it's definitely different and special, but we were able to manage and have some success in doing so. And with that success, you guys all know the results and the things that happened down there, and we like to think that it was very rewarding for us to be down there and the things that we were able to accomplish. Lots of good stuff all across the board. Katie Rainsberger, Cole Walsh there in the pole over 18 feet. The women's 4x1 being tested and battle tested down there all the way to the finish line in the 4x1. The men's 4x1 as well, breaking the school record, which was exciting. And then Raven Rogers there in the 800. That's a good thing as well. So good results, lots of good results there for our girls in the 1500 meters, running 4:17 or better there. So we like to feel that mission accomplished in being there at Mount Sac and Brian Clay and Long Beach. Thoughts?
You say a few words about Deja Stevens, and she had a pretty good meet too. You mentioned Raven, but
yeah, being able to win the 100 and 200 is always a good thing when you get those wins. I think you guys heard me say before that wins and PRs are special in our program. We try to celebrate those accordingly.
For some of these runners, Deja, Hannah, Raven, at this point in the season, do you feel like they're getting closer to their ceiling, sort of that potential that you think they could reach this season? Are they on pace, falling behind?
Probably par for the course now. Of course, what you will start to notice amongst the kids and amongst us as coaches is as we get closer and closer to the championship season, everything becomes heightened and alert, your sense of urgency and things you're doing. And with that comes a different level of scrutiny than the regular season. You kind of see it in the NBA finals or in the NBA playoffs that just started. Teams are really combing through the stats and the different nuances of the game with a fine-tooth comb, and that's no different than any other sport. You start to feel aches and pains, and you start to feel the stresses and the pressures of the season that's looming ahead. So little things like that tend us to be very cautious and be very wary of what we're doing, and we have to make sure that we prepare the kids for that, because it's going to happen whether they're ready for it or they're not. So us as the staff try to prepare for things like that.
Looking ahead to the penny relays, I know you're entered in 8 different relays. Is the plan to run in all of those, or are you going to narrow that down a little?
No, we're entered and we're going to run it in those. The only thing that would keep us from not running in those is something that happens while we're there. And then, of course, we're taking an alternate or two just in case. So no intention at this point in time to pull out of any of those.
You know, some of those relays aren't relays you're going to run later on in the year, and others are. Is this a chance for you to work on the 4x1, the 4x4 to kind of get better at those? And then what's the fun part of running the other ones?
Outside of the competitive aspect and then all the recruiting things that comes along with being at Penn Relays, it's a chance for us to work on some of the things that you're talking about, a chance for us to get a hard effort in, a chance for us to practice some race strategies, a chance for us to practice on some race modeling, and just a chance for us to deal with the pressure that comes with competing in front of that many people and competing against teams that you will see later on in the year.
You know, barring any sort of individual setback, are the relays what they are at this point, the teams what they are at this point? Are there still competition to kind of work your way onto one of those squads?
Yeah, we always talk about that we'll run the 4 fastest girls, and at some point in time we will solidify that relay. And I don't even know if it's solidified when you have an alternate there, because that alternate practices in a number of different places. And because we're fortunate enough to have some depth, we have a number of different alternates. Like one person would practice the first handoff because that's what they're good at. Another practice or practice or straight or the turn because that's what they're good at. And then the NCAA has this rule change that allows us to run anybody that's there in the meet. So those particular set of 8 girls know the duties that they have there. So number of different ideas and philosophies that go along with that.
Going into the outdoor season, you said it would become apparent who was going to redshirt probably. Have you made those decisions now, and are you at liberty to share this?
Pin relays is still the last competition that we could do something like that. So after this weekend, I can definitely answer your question better. The Maton thing, he hasn't run in a while, so he's probably one that we're thinking of, but no trigger has actually been pulled at this point in time.
And you looked like you scratched Edward last week. Last I checked, he wasn't going to run this week. Is that still the case?
That is the case.
Can you explain what the thinking is there?
Yeah, well, your article that you wrote about potentially an injury, there's no injuries to Edward Cheserek. And it's one of those things to where it was a coach's decision, and Edward being a senior and Edward doing all that he's done here for the University of Oregon, we're kind of making this a special season for Edward. So we're playing favorites or going along with his wishes, and you can kind of see some of the fruits of that indoors when we made an effort to have him have an opportunity to go and break the collegiate record. So we're taking the outdoor season with the same lens.
Are the pin relays still a special event? I mean, it's not your first time there. Do you still get that prestigious feeling going in there?
Yeah, I can remember my first time there. They're talking about here comes Oregon, and they have sprinters. It's very funny thing there, and one of our first times there. But we've been there a few years in a row now, so it's definitely one of those special meets that everybody should get a chance to experience at some point in time.
What is it about? Is it just the field? Is it the competition? Is it the
Yeah,
history?
we're probably spoiled because we get to duplicate that a little bit here at Hayward Field, not only in our home meets, but some of our NCAAs and some of the other meets that we host. But the magnitude of people, and then of course it's kind of like our Oregon Relays because it has a high school component to it, as well as a pro component to it, and then you have the Jamaican crowd that is special within itself. You know, they cheer beyond belief for all the schools that come up, the high schools from Jamaica that come up, and then they have the pros there that compete as well, and they definitely bring a certain energy to the field.
Over the years, you've also brought throwers out there, and looks like you have some entered this year. You know, as part of that reward, is to be able to earn your spot on the Penn Relays road trip?
Absolutely. It's not necessarily the greatest venue for field events, and we traditionally don't take a lot of our field event people there, but those seniors that's been with us and have done well, we want to give them an opportunity to travel outside of Hayward Field, and we kind of adopted this policy years before we were kind of in the conundrum that we're in now as far as no home meets at Hayward Field, but a chance for them to get to compete outside of Hayward Field before they competed in every meet here because it just made sense. But now we try to give those seniors a chance to go away and do some things. So our javelin throwers and Ryan Hunter Sims are going to be competing at Penn Relays this weekend.